So JJ Redick got the Lakers job. 4 years. I'm hearing whispers about 8 million per year. So that's about 32 million. And there's been a lot of controversy surrounded about this man's hire. He's a anchor or a pundit for ESPN. He speaks with Stephen A. Smith. You'll probably see him from time to time on there. But I'm hearing that JJ, plus he's LeBron's friend as well. They got the podcast going, and they've had the podcast going pretty much most of the season. So can you say conflict of interest? Yes, I kind of see where Stephen A is coming from, but he definitely pulled the race card. And Greg Gottlieb, or whatever the guy's name from Fox Sports News, called him a race baiter. And I completely agree in this situation because there was a rollback, a playback on ESPN earlier this week. And he had talked about how black coaches had called him and was disappointed in the podcast and blah, blah. And Molly kindly asked, so were the black coaches, were they mad that he was doing the podcast in the middle of the season for Darvin Ham's sake? Or were they mad because LeBron James chose to do a podcast with a white man? Totally. And he said, obviously, because, they chose to do the podcast in the middle of the season. But that's neither here nor there. Stephen A is the king. He's the king race baiter. He has every day, all day to pretty much put his agenda out there. He has his podcast and whatnot. But I don't want to make this about Stephen A as much as I want to, because I have a lot of bullshit to say about him. And I mean bullshit on his part. Now, as far as JJ Redick, there's the draft in about a week. He has a week to kind of prepare for the draft. Now, he probably won't have say. He won't have too much say. He'll have a little say on his prospects, his system, even if he has a system. I'm hearing a lot of issues with his experience. The man played 15 years in the NBA, and he also played for Duke, for one of the greatest coaches. That doesn't mean that he's going to be the greatest coach. I'm with giving him a chance because he's a former player and now he's going to be a coach, and now he'll have that dynamic as a player coach. Me personally, I wish it was a different team or a different dynamic, because now you have LeBron, who's your buddy, who you're doing the podcast with, and I believe it is some type of conflict of interest. And LeBron isn't gonna probably want to be coached by one of his buddies that he truly knows way more than. JJ Redick has been around the league and he hasn't coached on any level. That's what they're saying. No coaching. They're saying that if the man truly wanted to coach, and this was his desire before the Lakers even thought about picking him up, he would have been coaching on the AAU, on a high school level, on a college level, on assistant somewhere. That's what they're saying about JJ Redick. And that's all fine and dandy, but there are instances where new head coaches, first year head coaches, excelled. So it's kind of a sit back and we'll see type of deal. You can't really put too much on it because he may have the greatest turnout ever. So we'll see. We will truly see. He has one of the greatest players ever. So we will see. And the Lakers actually tried this before with Luke Walton. Luke Walton was in his mid 30s, around there. 2012, somewhere around there, I believe. They had Luke Walton, and he was a young coach. He was a player. I think JJ was slightly better, but they were kind of on equal footing. He was a role player. JJ was a role player, and he coached and he did his thing and he was out. He was no better or really no worse than what you're kind of seeing with JJ, to be honest. And Darvin Ham got him to the playoffs last year. Darvin Ham, I think you don't just get rid of good coaches like that. There must have been a tiff or some situation with LeBron because the man did not stand up for the head coach and say, hey, no, I want this man to stay. We on the right track. Because if that was the case, don't you think LeBron would have probably stepped in and said something? But we do know that LeBron doesn't really step in, and he says that he's not part of the head coaching search and all that head office stuff. But that's a damn lie. LeBron is one of the greatest players to ever play this game, arguably number 2. He is going to have some type of influence on who he plays with, who comes through that door, who's coaching him, and so forth. So I don't want to hear this. Hey, he's neutral. He's, hands off. He makes his feelings known. That's for sure. Anyway, like I said, it's kind of a wait and see mentality with JJ, and Stephen A is definitely hating on JJ. So watch subtly. Watch what Stephen A is doing Monday, Tuesday. Watch, because they be hating. He be hating.